release. Here's an example of one that has rubbed against a different mandrel in the can. See that little blemish? If I put glass there, it might stick. So be very particular. You could probably touch that up with a little glob, or you could just clean it off and try again. Again, the bead release is non-toxic. It's essentially a clay slip, so it's just dirt and water. Water evaporates. I'm sorry. See what I did? How easy it is? I bang your mandrels together. Now I gotta make sure they're still coated. That part is clear because it's on my finger, so we gotta revise that and make sure that one's good. Because there's nothing like making an incredible bead
and it getting stuck,
then finding that it never comes off the mandrel. Okay, mandrel ergonomics. I want you to choose. Hang on. I'm thinking. Get a little piece of tape. Visible tape. Grab one of your mandrels, and I want you to hold it in your non-dominant hand. Ideally, you would be sitting at a torch, but if you're standing, that is okay.
One of the coated ones?
It doesn't matter. I'm just teaching you how to use it. All right, mandrel ergonomics. I'll use this as my table. I'm gonna hold this mandrel in my non-dominant hand. You have to use two hands to make beads. Your smart hand, your dominant hand, is the one that does all the finesse, right? It applies the glass, it uses the tools. This hand, all it has to do is be a lathe. It rotates and it stays still, right? I mean, there are some more things that it'll do, but in general, that's your default setting. So, I want you to hold your mandrel in your left hand. Sorry, Corbett, yeah. And I want you to put all of your fingers in contact with it. Because if you try to spin a mandrel and rotate it like this, how much control do I have over it?
Not a lot.
No. Even two fingers, like this is no pinky up dainty bit. I clutch this mandrel, but I let it rest lightly. Okay? So see how my wrist is bent around the whole thing?
Holy moly.
Yeah, that's how I am comfortable doing it. Sometimes I open my wrist up and I have my thumb facing me, but usually my thumb faces up. Like no, not my elbow. The elbow stays down. Oh, honey.
I'm just gonna go like this.
That's okay. All right, so where am I holding it? Am I holding it out here on the end?
No.
No, because good luck, right? That's ridiculous. It's gonna be really hard. Yeah, hold it in the middle. In fact, the closer you are to the bead end, which is represented by my blue flag here, the more control you have.
I know just where I'm holding.
Now, your rule is to always be rotating, like always be closing, if you guys have seen that great movie. Glengarry Glen Ross, watch it over the weekend. Always be rotating. And so when I say rotating, what that means is I'm going to bring the mandrel around the top of the thumb, around the end, and around the bottom. So watch. From here, from the very bottom, how many times can I rotate it? Tape goes around 1, 2, 3 rotations, 3.5 even, and I never had to reposition my fingers. If you're doing all kind of this business,
That's what I like.
right, then it's jumping everywhere, which means the bead is jumping all over the flame, represented by my finger, which means it's getting hot, cold, woo, and you have no control. So your goal is to be a machine. You are completely horizontal with your mandrel, which is what I mean when I run around the room going level, level, level. I'm barking at you to like be level, horizontal. It's easier to say level.
This is
Level. It is, but look, you're on the very end of your mandrel. You're way out here. That's really hard. So I want you to choke up on it.
Oh, I can?
Yeah, choke up
More.
at least in the middle,
Oh.
but as far as you can and still be comfortable from the heat. The bigger the bead, the longer you've been working it, the larger the mandrel, the more heat's happening there, so you may have to back up. But you can always back up, right? It's not,
I feel like I'm gonna do this.
it's
to
not
back up.
stapled to your hand. You've got options. When you watch people make beads on video, you'll notice that people do all sorts of wacky stuff. Some people will dip the middle of the mandrel so they can work with two hands. I hate that. I hate it, and I won't let you do it because I think it's a great way to get burned. But people do this in all sorts of ways. This is how I want you to do it because it's proven to give me the best results later down the line. I'm trying to get you good habits that work well later.
Slow roaster.
Yes, exactly. You're a rotisserie chicken.
I like it.
Because
So,
the flame is directional. It's not an oven, right? It's not blasting heat all around. You have to keep the heat even around this piece, which means rotating all the way towards you. And then, when you get as far as you can go, look at my finger, all the way away from you, repeat. So you're rolling it like 2.5 to 3 times each direction, and then rocking it the other way. Common problems are the short rock. Watch this, watch my tape. I need to make it like that. The short rock, if my bead is here, is like this, where you're just rocking like.
oh yeah, that's me.
What's happening on this side of the bead?
It's not getting hot.
Yeah, super duper cold because it's not actually making a full rotation. Plus, you rock it like this, and imagine there's some weight on that bead, like you're actually going to shift the gravity of the glass. Make sense? Yeah. So everything you do impacts what happens on that mandrel. All right, I'm talking about bead ergonomics way too much, but I think it's one of the most important things. So that's what you do with this hand. What happens with this hand?
The glass.
The glass. Now, here's how I like to do this. I diagram, I demonstrate, you do it, and then usually I demonstrate again because you realize, wait, I missed this part. That's what I need to see. Let's start with diagram. This is a great point if you want to get your notebook out or whatever, but of course this video will be available to you at any moment. Yeah, so I can be like, go back and watch the video. You forgot something. Here we go. So you're sitting, and this represents the end of your mandrel, cross section.
Yes.
You have one. That's what you're looking at. I drew it super duper duper giant, right? And now we're going to see how the glass needs to impact the mandrel to get on there well. You have a glob, if this is your mandrel, right? I drew it really big. Your glob of glass is like gigantic, probably. Probably looks like that. And you want to gather, that's the word for it, glob, gather, ball, whatever. You've got your gather. What you don't want is that action, where it's like drooping off, because that forces you to like plop it on top. And again, a lot of bead makers like the plop method, but I find you make better discs later if I teach you the kissing method, which is what I call it. Nobody else calls it that. So you want to make sure you're in control of your gather, and it's not like a droopy teardrop. All right, and it's evenly hot. If it's like cold in one area, it's not going to flow very well, and you're going to have lumps and clumps. All right, enough of those. So you're coming in with your gather, and intuitively you're thinking that you need to drip it onto the mandrel and like swab it around. That's what your brain's probably telling you. But I want you to think about making contact with the front of the mandrel and the front of the glass, right? So if I can sit in your stool for 1 second, what that looks like. Oh look, here's a pretend gather. Perfect. Here I am. I've got good ergonomics. I'm sitting nice and square. My my mandrel is level. I've heated up my glass. Doopy 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 doop. Right? It's hot and it's ready. I'm going to change positions. Whoop! And swing this so it points towards my nose. Not like literally your nose. Just swing it so it's pointing at you, so that you can approach from the front. I'm not up here dripping it down. I'm coming from the front. And I'm just going to kiss that mandrel like that and pull back a little bit. That'll stretch the gather out. And then I'm going to rotate the mandrel away from me. And what that does is it winds the glass from the ball, from the gather, around the mandrel. Yeah? So rotate away from me. Okay. So this is what it looks like in big view. These two touch, it sticks. Pull back and down a little bit. I'm going to demonstrate in a second. And from where this point of contact comes, as you rotate this around, the glass starts to curve and then you have this kind of thing going on, and then it completes, and then you trail off in the flame, which you'll see. It's going to make more sense when you see it. So what I'd like you guys to do now is put your trays away, but keep your mandrel can. You can put your bead release up, your tray. You'll need a pair of titanium lenses. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I forgot to pull them out of the solution. They are clean.
They're just wet.
They're wet. Yeah, sorry about that. There are 3 that are wet. Good luck. If you want to use your rag from your bag, this would be a great moment. It's pretty clean. Okay. Now I'm going to switch. Oh, we can stop filming. Whoa! Because I'm going to
Oh,
switch to
stop
my
it.
overhead view and put up my titanium so that I can